Let us show up wherever we may, digging and sifting through the dirt. It's all tainted with the hurts, laying around trying to make a statement from ground zero to shifting.
Welcome to the launch of our brand new podcast, Time for Talkos. I'm Ken.
Cadence.
And we're coming here from the cornfields of Northwest Ohio.
Yes.
And we're going to be discussing things like aliens, paranormal. We're going to go over the conspiracies and pretty much the music as well. If we have bands coming to the area and so we can get our toes into. But today we're here joined by Dan Fraley. Dan, introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone.
And do we have Jake? No, we don't have Jake with us.
No, Jake's not here.
What happened to Jake?
He's got a kid.
Well.
That'll happen.
Yeah. Well, Randy, we also got Randy Woden. He just started a WTF, what the fuck did I just watch podcast?
Ooh,
Right.
Interesting.
It's we're going to be watching old 80s and 90s canceled TV series and breaking them down and discussing them and discussing what went wrong and why they got canceled.
Nice,
Good
nice.
luck.
Yeah, that
man.
sounds
Wow.
interesting. Yeah.
And we also got Carrie along with us. Carrie will be interviewing
Hello.
Henodus soon on an upcoming episode of ZTO Radio.
Yes, and I have already done a Divine Eminence interview from Columbus, and thank you all for tuning into that. Ken and I, that was my first outing, so
And you did a
I
very
really
good job.
don't. No, thank you very much. And I really don't have a place quite yet in the ZTO universe, so
Well,
looking
you fit just
forward
perfectly
to
doing what you're doing
the
now.
projects. All right.
Heck yeah.
All right, so pretty much with the podcast up and running today, being for its first launch, there's going to be a lot of things we can talk about. I mean, nothing's going to be off the table. A lot of the things that Kate and I are pretty good at is conspiracies and the paranormal stuff and unknowns. We've had a lot of interesting things happen to us over the years.
Definitely.
Yeah. So what's Cadence? What's your favorite genre to be talking about?
Honestly, I love the paranormal world. I feel like it's an ongoing thing. It just keeps, more people have more experiences that aren't that aren't explainable, and it just keeps on going and going. And there's so many things that have happened in my life, and even at your place that I can't even begin to explain. So that's what I want to dive into. What do you guys think?
All right. Well, let's set the paranormal and maybe talk about ghosts and spirits. See what we've got going on. Now,
okay.
Ray, Dan, Carrie, what do you guys think about? Ray, we're going to start with you. What's your viewpoint on the ghosts and paranormal phenomenon?
I love this topic, but I'm kind of a skeptic because I've never had an experience. I watch, your Ghost Hunter show, paranormal caught on video, that kind of stuff. On YouTube, I'll go down a rabbit hole and I'll watch these people, claim to have experiences, and they seem very real to me. I don't think a lot of these people are acting in any way whatsoever. I believe that there is something that I can't understand going on, but I've never had the experience, so I can't really put myself there, But I would love to at some point. So I do believe there's something after this, but I don't know what it is, and I would like to be on one of these teams that goes, to like a haunted house just to see it firsthand myself, since I've never had it.
Get firsthand experience. Definitely.
Yeah.
No, back when, what was it, 14, 15 right there somewhere, the channel was invited to go down to Montgomery County to the fairgrounds. And we were put on with another show to do an on-live haunt. And we were sitting there going through all these rooms of the old fairgrounds. And we came back with one audio. And I'll see if I can find the audio, and I'll pull the audio for a future episode. But it was very interesting. And I tell you what, going through some of those haunts and facilities firsthand, it'll put a different feeling up your spine. I mean, Cadence, you had some dabbling in that, didn't you?
Yeah, definitely. We have a family member that actually has a ghost investigator team that goes out several times a year and just finds these little locations to find ghosts. And there is so many things that happen that are, oh my gosh, like bone chilling. And I don't know why I keep going back. I hate doing it because in the moment it's so freaky, but when you look back, it's so much fun. It's so worth it. I definitely recommend it.
Yeah. Well, what about you, Dan? What do you got?
I'm very much my wife loves those ghost adventures, ghost hunters, ghost anything shows. She likes them. Like I said, I don't care what people like. They can like whatever they like. It don't bother me any. I am very much in the skeptic. Like, I understand there are things in the world I don't understand. There are things I can see, even on the shows, I can see, like, I don't know what that is. And I'll admit that I don't know what it is. But to me, the jump between I don't know what it is and it's clearly a ghost, it's a bridge too far for me. So I'm more of a skeptic. I don't care that people do believe it. It's just I've always been very skeptical of that kind of stuff.
We got two skeptics here.
Yeah, more or less,
already.
yeah.
No, this is going to make it interesting. It's fine.
Well, Carrie, what about you?
I think skepticism in this realm is actually a healthy thing. You shouldn't automatically jump to the conclusion that it's something supernatural when it can be easily disproved. But I am a big believer in the supernatural or paranormal realm. I've experienced a few things around my father's house not too long after my brother died. The dog also saw a lot of the things. It reacted when I reacted. Mm-hmm. So to me, that's a big proof in itself when some other intelligence is seeing the same thing that you're seeing.
Yeah, they say that animals and children are like more susceptible to see like these other realms when we can't see it eye to eye.
Even my son, we recently have moved, but we lived in a trailer that always had at night, it would kind of have you'd get odd feelings, like something was watching you. And he was constantly in his bedroom and he would be having conversations with something. Mm-hmm. Like it wasn't like he was making them up. It felt like genuine conversations. And I would ask him sometimes what he was talking to, and he'd get nervous, like he wouldn't answer me, and then he would say, "Oh, just my pretend friend." But to me, it sounded too realistic and too natural of a conversation to just be making it up. So I do believe animals and children, as you said, definitely are more susceptible and sensitive to that kind of thing. And I think with science, too, we've proved more with the equipment and everything the ghost hunters use. The electromagnets and all that stuff, how it's manipulated by the spirits. I really think that a lot of that proves that this is a real phenomenon.
Right. Definitely. And something to add with what you said, and it got me, thinking, of course, I am a huge believer in everything. I feel like everything is possible. Science still hasn't discovered we've only discovered 10% of our oceans, and we have the best equipments to find things, and we're still finding new things in nature, new things in the water. And the thought of the afterlife is always going to be that gleaming of what is that and is it possible. So instead of being it's not good to just automatically believe those things are possible, I think it's we need to be a little bit more open-minded, because we are so small of human beings that aren't, here for a long time. And everybody always has this different interpretation of what the afterlife is. But regardless, everybody has the same stories, the same feelings, goosebumps, children seeing things, dogs reacting that we cannot explain, but we can mend together with. That might be paranormal. So I think it's neat.
Yeah, there's way too much that's happened in our lives that we can't explain. I mean, a lot of it we can, but there's way too many things that it's just very abnormal and out of the blue experience that we've had throughout our life that, hey, it may have been something, but it could have been something small, something simple. But, well, jumping into the whole experiences, Ray, when it comes to skepticism, what do you think would be the drawing line that would prove that they are or are not real?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Well, my biggest problem with the Ghost Hunter show in general is you'll get this, like you're saying, I don't wholly discredit all of it or anything like that. There are things that I believe can happen. So for instance, is residual hauntings that they always talk about. I think that could be a real thing. Energy isn't created nor destroyed, right? So it's got to go somewhere. So say something traumatic happens. You could imprint energy and be playing on a loop, right? I mean, I'm just spitballing here, but to me that makes sense. There could be like a record type thing where the energy is trapped and it's just playing on a loop, right? So I could see something like that. But these guys have been doing it for 25 years at this point, right?
Yeah.
And I've been watching for at least 10, and I've yet to see, here is a video of a ghost coming up to the screen and saying, "I'm dead, help me." You know, there isn't that kind of proof. But I mean, like, I'm dead and this afterlife's terrible, you know, or why am I stuck here? You just see little glimpses of this or that, and maybe that's all that there is. Maybe that energy that's there, that's all that it can produce. I just haven't seen anything in my experiences and watching these things on YouTube that I've been like, oh, that's definitely somebody that died and has been trapped here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that I have to have somebody sit down and go, hey, I've been dead for 50 years. Let's talk about it. But at the very least, something that I can go, wow, that's proof, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Well, Dan, what about you? We got skepticisms in the room, but have you had anything that you were curious that you didn't explain, that you couldn't explain that has happened? That you're like, well, maybe that might have been something.
I live next to a house. I grew up in the boondocks, outside of McGuffey. And yeah, little farmhouse. Been in my family for now like 4 generations. Grew up there. There was a guy who lived next to us. His last name was Hanson. He died when I was like 8 years old, and no one wanted his house. So the house sat there abandoned. It's an old house. It was the first house built on our road. Old beat up old house.
Yeah.
And there was some stuff there that like me and my friends would look across, and we had a straight shot at the house, and we'd see some weird lights in a house that hadn't had electricity in a couple of years and things like that. So again, it's stuff that we couldn't explain, the stuff we couldn't to this day, I don't know what it was. So like I said, I know there are things that like, yeah, I can't explain it. But very much like Ray said, it's a lot of like those ghost hunting shows. What gets me is they take it and they bring a lot of equipment and they bring a lot of lights and they bring a lot of recorders and all these things. But like I said, all they come up with is static and like flickers of light. And the fact that I'm pretty sure no ghosts have existed since 1940. Because every story they have on that show is someone died in a mining town in the 1870s. No one died in 1975.
Good point.
There's no ghosts running around in bell bottles and an afro, okay? Not one. So it's all like, that's where I'm at with it. It's like, I was like, it's so, like, it could exist, but why is the stories you hear always so narrow? It's always within about a 50-year period. So between the age of like mustache wax and giant tricycles, that was when all the ghosts existed. So you died in 1987, Reaganomics sticker on your, it's fine. No, you're not going to come back as a ghost. So it's really, the story's narrow down, and that's where it bothers me.
Nice. Now, Carrie, where do you stand at?
Oh, I've had experiences since not too long after my brother died. My brother was 21 when he passed in a car wreck, but he was always running down the stairs, like stomp, 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 really hard, and it would drive my mother crazy. She hated that because he would just run down the stairs, and it would sound like a damn herd of elephants tumbling down the stairs. Because he was 6'4", he was a big guy, and he, after he died, that just happened randomly. Like, we were all sitting in the kitchen, and all of a sudden, boom, 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 and it sounded just like his feet coming down, and the dog jumps up.
Wow.
And we're looking at the stairway, and there's nothing there, but it was incredibly loud. Just like he would have done running from the upstairs to the downstairs.
That's quite amazing.
What did you guys do?
So we're shocked. I mean, it scared the hell out of all of us because we weren't, it was quiet, and all of a sudden, bang, 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 bang. And
now, was there any way? No,
and it sounded just like the weight of his feet on the steps. And the dog jumps up and it runs to the bottom of the stairs, and she's looking up. So even the dog sensed something.
And
So
the dog didn't act like aggressive or scared.
No, and I think she was as startled as the rest of us were.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And we would see, feel a presence near us. And it was a couple weeks after his death, and then nothing else really. But that moment with the stairs will always stick in my mind, because it was just so shocking, because it was so loud, and it sounded just like him banging down the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
So I am definitely a believer, but again, when you go into a situation, don't automatically assume. And there's a lot of the ghost shows that do disprove, in their investigation, certain phenomenon, that they are, the orbs on the screen is just dirt,
Mm-hmm.
Things like that.
Yeah.
So I think you should go in with an open mind, but also don't automatically assume that you're going into a paranormal situation.
Mm-hmm.
Good idea. Now, Cadence, I know that you've had a number of things in the past. Do you have a favorite or something you can't explain?
Yeah, I actually do have a favorite. So we lived in a house in Essex majority of my life, and nothing ever happened in the house. It seemed normal. Everything was normal.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until, there was more tension in the family, which I'm not going to get into detail with, that suddenly it was like a presence that started to manifest itself. That's the best way I can absolutely put it, is it manifested itself.
Well, yeah, it uses energy around it to come around. Yeah,
definitely. So it started off like really, really, really light. It was the first incident. In fact, my little brother was just born. We are a huge age difference apart. Okay, so he was born when I was 13 years old, if that explains anything. He was a complete accident. Happy accident, though. Okay, we're just going to say that.
Hi, brother.
Yeah, exactly. Hi, brother.
I love you!
So I was trying to get him to sleep. My mom worked night shift being a nurse. My dad worked day shift. So I was building babysitter being homeschooled. So anyway, I was trying to get him to sleep. It was taking forever. And we had this beautiful little golden lab that constantly was playing with her ball, and she would like purposely hit it with her feet, and it would go everywhere. And long story short, I ended up taking the ball and I put it up on our mantle behind these pictures because I didn't want her playing with it anymore. And as I went into the kitchen, I heard that ball just bounce across the floor, and here goes my dog, and she's attacking it again. I was like, So as you said, roll out other things. The first thing I thought was, well, obviously I didn't put it far back behind the picture frame.
Yeah.
So I took it and I put it in our change jar, which it's a jar. It ain't going anywhere. Went back into the kitchen, and once again, that ball started bouncing across to my floor. And I'm not somebody that tolerates that very well. I am a wuss. So when I peeked in, I peek in and I'm like, oh no. I run up the stairs and I'm like, I'm not dealing with it. I'm not dealing with it. The dog can have the ball. My little brother can sleep down there with whatever it was. I love you, brother.
I'm sure he's feeling it right now.
Sacrifice the child.
I'm the older sister. I can do this, okay?
That's basically how the Goblin King got the chicken.
Oh my God. I know. It's that chant. Do you guys remember that chant she used to say before the Goblin King came and got him?
Oh my God. I forget, but I know your reference.
It's so old and so classic. But yes, it started off small with little things like that. And then you would hear the typicals like knocks on the windows or on the walls, or you would feel like somebody's right behind you. So when you're running up the stairs, you're running super, super fast into your room. Or when you're going down the stairs, you're running super freaking fast because you feel like something's behind you going there. But the most memorable experience, this is where we've dove in a little deep. The most memorable experience was I was sleeping in my room, and I'd already had a very, very, very troubled day. And I woke up to the sound of two dogs going at it. And I opened up my window because I thought it was coming from outside. they weren't coming from outside, and I got this unbelievable chill when I realized it was coming from my register that was connected to the basement. And it woke up my entire house. Okay, my little brother, my mom, my dad, my sister.
So you're not the only one that heard it. That's crazy.
We all woke up to that, and we huddled in my mom's room and prayed, and it went away. Okay, but that's terrible. It was a horrific experience. But to top that off, when I went to bed that night, there was one more growl that made itself through the register once again, and it hit exactly at 3:30 in the morning. And I'd say that if you guys don't believe in ghosts, like, please believe in demons, because that is demons. Like, you cannot convince me that is not demons, y'all. That is demons. I
would second that. I agree with that.
I was 14 years old trying to chill out to Avril Lavigne, and you have demons coming through the register. It ain't cool.
It was reaction to the Avril Lavigne. That's what it was.
She summoned them.
Demons are
21 fan. That's what it was.
House at 3:30 in the morning. That's
Her and the skater boy.
Skater boy.
Fangirling hard. They must
this
have.
This is Blink 182 household, damn it.
I mean,
and that's how you summon Satan.
Multiple people.
Avril Lavigne. Secrets out.
We got
bound
it.
to happen.
You have multiple people hearing it, so I mean that to me is.
That was, we had multiple occasions where the whole family would be like, we had a piano that would play, and we didn't have animals that would like a cat that would run across it. No, there was no things that we could just be like, hey, this is logical. Instead, it was like, yo, we got demons.
Put that on a wreath on the front door. Yo, we got demons.
Yeah.
Definitely. Now,
enter if you dare.
3 years later, we did have a pastor come and bless our house. He went around like every window and every door, and I was still like very skeptical on like the whole pastor thing, because like I watched way too many horror movies, and I was like, this is gonna get really bad.
Where
like
it starts.
Yeah, exactly. I was waiting. I was like,
piss it off is what he's gonna do.
Like, I'm not gonna play Avril Lavigne anymore, that's for sure. But
well, see, it's not all bad. Not all bad.
But
you learned something through this.
I did.
Say Avril Lavigne.
The devil loves Avril Lavigne.
Yeah.
It would explain so much.
But so after the pastor came, then did you have any more experience?
To be honest, I never felt like it fully went away. I felt like it went dormant. My mother and father would completely disagree with me, but I constantly had this feeling that it was like pissed, but it was just like, you know what? I'm going to wait for my time. Yeah. Yes, I felt watched. So, I did my typical like teenage shit of like just blaring my music and like keeping my fans on and like keeping sound like constantly, because I was like, hell no, I ain't hearing that again. Like, even if I do hear it again, I'm going to think it's just a cool bass hitting in my speakers. I'm not good with paranormal.
The demon remix.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Slayer's killing it this time. Yeah.
Actual demons in the background.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, jeez. Well, so that was your most favorite. Why was it your favorite?
I think it was my favorite because the whole family came together in prayer, almost like your typical, like, I'm going to say like 2000s haunted movie. Like they all like come together in like the living room and they're like, just pray, darling, just pray. But that's exactly how it was. But we were in her room, and my mom would repeat this thing. It was, Satan, get behind me in the name of Jesus Christ. She kept saying that over and over and over. And it was like, as soon as she got quiet to see if she could hear it anymore, like we couldn't hear it anymore. But yeah, that's my most favorite, because my mom and dad, they made me feel crazy every time I was like, did you guys hear that? And they're like, no. Like, but did you see that? And they're like, no.
Feel justified.
Oh yeah, they finally admitted down the road, oh yeah, we knew that place was haunted. We just didn't want to freak you guys out. And I was like,
I think you guys were already to that point.
Yeah.
I think you were way beyond freaked out.
I was way beyond it, okay? I was over it. But so when I saw that they experienced it, it was like I felt more sane because I felt so singled out.
You weren't alone. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt so singled out. They were just like, no, it's fine. It ain't nothing. They're in the background going, oh shit, I heard that too. Like,
Yeah.
they're just gonna up her antidepressants.
You do that enough Avril Lavigne, you don't care about none of it. You're like, I'm good.
Exactly.
I'm good.
Good.
Now, I want to say, like, the best ones are the ones you share with somebody else, because what's the point of having an experience if you can't share it? Because everyone, again, like you said, it's going to think you're crazy. They're going to think you're insane.
Yeah.
So I want to say one of my favorite ones that I had, and I had dozens on dozens of things I can't explain. And looking back on it, I think it's awakening. It's like, you're not alone. It's kind of comforting. Like, there's something else out there than just what we have in this world. But one of my favorite ones I had was, I took a leave from town. I went out of town for a little while, and my cousin Lisha got a hold of me and says, hey, something's going on in my house. I can't explain it. I need you to stay one night and tell me what you think it is. And the way she was explaining was, in the middle of the night, her dogs would bark and growl at the door and run down the hallway, yip and yap, and come back as if they're scared. And they always sit there at her bedroom door freaking out. And she says she would wake up in the middle of the night, someone banging on her wall, as if like a car would hit her bedroom wall, right where she's sleeping at.
And you willingly wanted to do that.
Yeah. Well, it should be no surprise. Anybody that knows who I am, it should be no surprise.
Yeah. That's a total Ken Newman right there.
Yeah.
It's the experience. So
it was like, say no more, demons.
I am in. Did you say demon? I am in.
I'm bringing Avril Lavigne and we're going.
Yeah.
That'll draw him out.
So I decided to stay one night, and I slept at the foot of her bed, and I waited all night and nothing happened. And I want to say it was probably about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning that she woke me up and said, did you hear that? I said, hear what? And I was sitting there listening. I didn't hear anything. And I get up, just out of curiosity, I look around and make sure all the doors are shut and everything else. Everything's good. There's no one in the house. I went back and I just sat there at the end of the bed, still awake. And next thing I know, I hear a come from her bathroom. And her bathroom shares a garage wall. So I'm thinking somebody's in the garage. So I, peek out the window, I look over at the garage, and the doors are all shut, lights are all off. I'm thinking, okay, I'm just listening. I heard it again. And I get up and I start walking toward the bathroom. And it's come from her bathroom. I'm thinking, it's late March. I'm thinking it was maybe our pipes were trying to expand, or not. It was just her piping because her pipes were on the other side of the wall. And I sat back down, and next thing I know is another come from her son's bedroom in the closet, which shares the same kind of closet wall that she does. And not even 2 seconds later, down the hallway.
Nope.
And I was like, I immediately sat up, and I sat at the bed, and one big right at the headboard of where we were at. And she has wings, angel wings on top of her headboard, or not headboard, but the top of the wall, right above her bed. And they came off the wall. They bounced off the damn wall. I jumped for a split second. My heart was like up in my throat somewhere. Like I lost my stuff. I lost my train of thought. Like, I'm very cool and collected in certain moments. I lost it. And she started crying. She started bawling. I was like, you got something. I don't know what it is, but you got something.
Demons.
I left the house. I went around the back side of the house. Like, I was thinking, like, maybe
Candace's answer for everything now.
Answer done.
Demons.
Demons.
I even went outside to make sure that it wasn't her siding, bouncing into her house. And she has a fenced in yard. There was nothing, no siding was loose. I couldn't explain. There's nothing to explain all those knocks. And they're all two knocks, and one big bam right at the wall, right where we're at.
And you said her kids were asleep, her son was asleep and everything?
No, because of what was going on, her son was out of town. He was staying with with his dad.
So he wasn't even there.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was pretty exhilarating, and the dogs were freaking out and everything else. And it was one of those, like, yeah, you got something. And sure enough, a couple days later, I got my mom and I asked her, how do I do this? And she showed me how to try to talk to it and get it to leave the house. And
just like sit down and have coffee? Like, what?
Well, she ended up moving away. She ended up moving out of the house.
Normal motherly advice.
Yeah, she ended up moving out of the house.
Get demons out of your house.
You just need to talk to it and make it crumpets. It'll be fine.
Now say, Jerry, now listen to me. Talk her down.
Well, see, so this is going to be a good transition. So we have ghosts, and then we have demons. What would you think would be the difference if one of the two existed? Ray, what do you think?
Well, because I'm an atheist, I would have to assume that if demons existed, there must be a heaven, and I'm completely wrong in my entire thought process.
Okay.
Good. All right. Touche. All right. Dan?
I'm with Ray here. I come from I come from a religious background, put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
I was a very religious person.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Yeah, 25 years. But yeah, I've sort of walked away from all that, and I'm the same way. Like, to me, it's like demons and angels and all that stuff. Like, again, I don't care what people believe, but I'm just not convinced. So, again, I think there's a bunch of stuff I can't explain, but that, again, it's another jump I'm just not willing to make, I guess.
Yeah, Carrie?
Well, I guess I'm going to take a different route. I did grow up as well in the Catholic Church. I grew very disillusioned with that. But late 2018, I kind of met somebody who is a witch. It kind of opened my eyes to more spiritual side of things. I've experienced a lot of things that I can't explain in that realm. Not really going to go into that too much. I don't want to veer off into religion, but I'm a very spiritual person.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe, I would say the difference, ghosts are a person left behind. The residuals of them left behind, energy. I totally agree with Ray when his assessment of that with the energy, which is also a lot of things that I've experienced looking into the more, like, I guess you could say pagan realm.
Okay.
I don't want to go down that route and people assuming I'm a witch or getting into Satanism or something of that.
I'm just going to say witches are fucking awesome.
Well, it's something, truly, it's something that I've been studying, and it's changed my way of viewing a lot of things. But I would say a demon is something that already exists as an evil thing. I don't think it's like a person. I think it's its own entity. I believe that.
Okay.
And I've experienced a lot of things, spiritual, in the spiritual realm, and I do believe that demons do exist.
All right.
Wholeheartedly.
I'm sorry?
So what about you? What do you think about the ghosts and demons? The differences, if you believe there's a difference between a ghost and a demon?
I mean, there could be evil people as an evil ghost.
Yeah. I look at it, I'm an ominist, which is absolutely the opposite of atheism. Instead of believing in nothing at all, I believe in everything at all. Everything has a purpose. Every religion has a thing. Like, you could tell me you pray to a tree every day that gives you gold, and I would be like, yeah, cool, all right. So a little bit of witchcraft, a little bit of Buddhism, a little bit of Christianity. You know, if you ever watch Life Pie, how do you believe in everything? You just can. So when it comes to demons and bad ghosts, I kind of look at it like she said, a passing of somebody. Like, there could be bad spirits, but then there's demons, and I feel like demons are the ones that can, like, do the possessions, that can throw things across your house, cause total chaos. Because if you look at it from Christianity standpoints or anything biblical, they say that demons are entities. They're made from bad spirits. So I go with that vibe that demons are demons when they start causing chaos or making your life difficult or can cause harm.
Yeah.
Then
but also believe
ghosts.
that demons can mimic ghosts. Demons can mimic our past relatives or our family or our friends.
And that
and
is, yes, that's part of the biblical. That's why they tell their followers not to get into ghosts, because you don't really know what you're diving into, and it's to protect them. And I agree with that. Like, I feel like there are some things that we should not mess with because we are not of that level. But yeah, it's the same thing. What do you look at angels? Like, of course, two atheists can't say anything about that. But like,
funny, but
if you believe in guardians and angels, you're gonna have to believe that's different than just good spirits versus demons and bad spirits. You know?
I would agree with that.
Agree
with that. And I believe that they do communicate with us as well. If you watch your thoughts, what you're thinking about when you see like repeating numbers, 11:11 on the clock, things like that. And people say 11:11 make a wish. Well, that kind of stuff exists for a reason. And I believe that it's universe communicating.
Okay. I mean, because we also have coincidences too, and it's tough that when we want to focus on one thing, some things are a little more apt to pop up if we're paying attention to it, even if it is subconsciously. We might be like, oh, hey, I'm going to see. Gosh, I love foxes, and next couple days you might see a couple foxes without even paying attention to how
the
there's
power
foxes.
of belief right there.
Yeah,
like that's one of my topics that I've talked to you about. It's the power of belief.
Subconscious. They're subconscious.
Part of ominism is the power of belief, which is if you believe you're going to have a good day, chances are you're going to have a good day, because every bad thing that happens, you're just going to be like, nope, it's going to be a good day. And you still go to bed and you're just like, yeah, it was a good day. But if you convince yourself like it's going to be terrible, this is going to be long, and chances are you're going to do that too. So when you have groups and masses of people that are like, I believe in this God, I believe in this God, chances are there is something that's manifested there, and boom, belief is now truth.
Could there also be, like, with these old sayings, like, and thoughts like 11:11, for example, I've heard that before. Could it just be somebody explaining away something from a time period when they didn't have an explanation for it?
Like, it could have been.
That's true.
Like,
that's a good point. Good point.
There's all these things that are happening at 11:11. Well, it must be witchcraft. 11:11.
Yeah. Right.
And then now as we're older and a more advanced culture, we can be like, oh no, that was probably like a nest of owls that they were hearing or whatever. I'm not trying to dismiss everything like that.
No, I totally agree with that. Skepticism is healthy. You have to have a healthy amount of skepticism. Right. You can be open-minded and still be skeptical to some level.
Yeah, and just to be clear, even though I'm ominous, which, like I said, is complete opposite of atheism, I still believe you guys have a purpose, and you guys matter in this world. So I'm just saying, like, I'm not gonna be like, oh my God.
Have quite the spiritual discussion, possibly on a future episode.
No, it's all right. It's quite all right. I'm just making that clear.
Thank you.
Now, Ouija boards, and people want to talk to the dead. People want to talk to spirits, and they can either use different forms, because forms of talking to manifestations and spirits all throughout history have come in different forms. And we have pencils you stick on top of one another, use candles. We got Ouija boards. Do you believe in that? Do you believe in being able to talk to the dead or talk to the spirit realm?
I don't personally believe in that, because again, I haven't had an experience with it. But I have a good friend who is the most rational person I've ever met in my entire life, who swears up and down that one time when he was a kid, they were doing a Ouija board session, and some of the weirdest shit I've ever heard in my life happened to him. And I'll just give you a brief example. After they did it, they all felt very, like, euphoric would be the word. This is like a group of 5 people, right? They were talking, something took the board over, was answering questions. This guy's convinced of this. And like I said, I've known him for a long time. He's not the kind of guy that lies or makes truths, like, bigger than they are, right? And he said that he went into the restroom after this session with a girl, and they were talking about how weird their experience was, and time just seemed to stop. Like, they were in there for what they thought were a few minutes. Comes out, it was like an hour later. People had been banging on the door for an hour. They didn't hear any of that. It was just silence.
Wow.
And to me, I mean, that's when somebody is as stoic as this guy is telling you that. I mean, there's got to be some sort of kernel of truth to what happened. Something happened there that he couldn't explain. So that's a secondhand story. Again, I've never had a personal experience with the Ouija board. I've seen them. I've never used one. But that's my 2 cents on it. So I believe that something could happen. So.
Yeah, right? Well, Dan, I mean, you and I'm pretty sure we had the same kind of a religious background coming from childhood. Did you ever touch any of that?
I never did. As a kid, I didn't for the religious reason.
Yeah.
Because, like, my mom didn't want us to read Harry Potter.
Yeah,
like, that level of Pentecostal, like, think the preacher's gonna die at every sermon because they're in the Lord. That I get with that.
Raised in a Pentecostal church,
Yeah.
I completely get it.
So I didn't because as a kid. As an adult, I don't because like my wife and I had this debate on the Ouija board. She doesn't believe the Ouija board works, but she's not gonna mess with it because just in case.
Just in case.
So my thing is like, if it can be manufactured by Hasbro, it ain't talking to the other side. That's my opinion. That's exactly how I feel. If you can manufacture and sell it for $12.99 at a Walmart, sorry, you ain't talking to ghosts. You ain't talking to, you ain't talking to Rodney Dangerfield. No, it's not happening.
I will agree with that, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I'm gonna say. It's like consulting a magic 8-ball. Sorry, it's a toy. I'm sorry, it's a toy.
Well, the way I see it with the Ouija boards, when they're coming off the line, is there like some type of priest or some type of witcher at the very end, like bestowing like, I deem this one magical.
Very good question.
This one magical.
Hasbro blesses them. They have an in-house priest, and everyone he is on it. He is. Father O'Grady is on that shit. That's what's going on.
I don't think it's the toy itself. I think it's what it represents. Yes. And the people manifest their beliefs into it, right? So if it did
the energy that they use.
Yeah, the energy would be the catalyst. I don't think it's. You could probably have one of those old things where we were kids where you press the button and an animal talks. If enough people believe that is evil or something's coming out of it, that energy is going to be negative. Like we were saying earlier. So I believe. But this guy, I'm telling you, if you met him, you would not think that he had an experience like this. So that it kind of I went, well, something happened to that dude, I can't.
Yeah. I firmly believe that. when it comes to like the energy that we use, we can turn anything that we have. We can turn a laptop. We can turn like I said, pencils. We can turn pencils that all sit on top of one another into some type of communication. If we firmly believe that that's how we're going to discuss our communication between the outside world, no, that's how you're going to do it. And if whoever wants to communicate with us, that's what they're going to use as what would you say? A tool to communicate back with us.
Right.
But Carrie, have you ever messed with that stuff?
No, I do have in my research into spirituality. I've made a lot of friends on Tumblr. Tumblr has a huge witch community, and a lot of them are highly skilled tarot readers. So I've had tarot cards read for me, but I do believe that anything really can be used to communicate. Mm-hmm. Because that trailer I was talking about before, I was there by myself one day, and I felt like I was being watched, and I said out loud, "Is something here?" And right when I said that, a great big Jackson Pollock painting that I had fell off the wall. And so I think anything that a spirit can touch can be manipulated in some sort of communication. So I don't think it's necessarily like, I think, what was it, Ray brought up, doesn't think it's what it represents. It doesn't think it's the thing itself.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be, it's whatever the focus of the energy is, right?
Right. That's what I do believe in tarot readers and that kind of stuff. And I do believe that can be used by things to tell us what they want to tell us. Okay.
Well, I mean, I never had my cards read. Never had that. I've always curious about that, but has anyone here had their cards read to them before?
I have.
And what happened? What was the result out of that?
Well, yeah, it was very weird. It's a real preface. It was I had a big comedy show, and they brought a tarot card reader in as part of this like big all-day festival. Mm-hmm. And I'm skeptical, obviously, from talking to you. You guys know that now. And so I was making fun of her, kind of. And she's like, "Well, why don't you come back in 15 minutes and have a reading?" So I said, "Well, why don't you charge me less than $40?"
Which is valid. That's valid.
So she goes, "All right, I'll do it for half." So I went, "All right." I gave her $20. I said, "I'll be back in 15 minutes." I come back, I sit down, I set my camera up, and for whatever reason, it wasn't recording right. I don't put that on her, right? But
yeah.
So I sat down and she started to tell me things about myself that it would be hard for people to not to know that didn't know me personally. Okay.
Yeah.
But I have to believe there's some sort of trick. This lady's making $40 a pop, right? So maybe she did some Google searches. I have a very unique last name, you know. Maybe she found out somehow she knew that my grandfather died, right?
Okay.
And I hadn't told very many people that at this point, just a select few of close friends. So she knew that he smoked cigarettes, which maybe she was guessing because of his age, you know, right?
No, was it recent? At that time?
This was about, well, yeah, it was recent. Like it had just been a week, like when this happened. Like I found out he died, you know, the next week we did the show.
Yeah.
And my mom was actually in Florida taking care of his affairs while I was doing the show. So
this is like a whole other state, like states away.
Yeah, Florida. She was in Florida.
Jeez.
Yeah. So I was stunned. I'll be honest with you guys. I was stunned because I went, how unless there was nobody else that knew that was there that night, right?
Mm-hmm.
Besides myself. Mm-hmm. So, and then she said, "Do you ever smell cigarette smoke in your car?" And I said, "Yes, sometimes." And she's like, "That's your grandpa. He's sitting with you. He wants you to know that everything's going to be okay." And that was about the end of the reading. She hit some other misses and, you know, and hit some other things of general knowledge and then missed a bunch of stuff. And then that was the end. But that always stuck with me. I don't know how she knew it, but to me, I don't think it would be, I'm pretty sure it wasn't in the paper, the obit. I don't believe had even been out yet. So It was very weird. That's the only thing I can say was, you know, even a little bit where I was like, wow, I was a little stunned. But she caught me off guard with it. So.
Well, I mean, Cadence, quick before we move on to the next thing, have you had any experience with tarot cards, the Ouija boards, or any kind of form of communication to the outside?
I practice tarot cards. As far as reading a Ouija board, yeah, I did that one time a couple summers ago. Won't do it again. No, but what's weird? Yeah, of course. I'm an open book here. We played it once, drinking, and we wanted to get spooked out, and nothing absolutely was happening. I thought my friends were making it move and stuff, so I was just like, you know, this thing's a piece of junk. Like, it wasn't worth it, so we threw it out. And it wasn't until like 3 or 4 days later, we ended up with like a fly problem. Like we woke up with tons of flies.
Like an infestation of flies.
Yes. And this cat that was left by my ex-fiance's ex-wife had a litter of kittens.
Yeah.
All but one lived, and he was only like a few months old at the time.
Yeah.
And we had came home, and it had its neck snapped in the front door when we had came home. And it was like, by that point, I was like, these things are a little too recent. Like, I'm
together,
yeah. So what I do, I gave it to my friend.
Someone else gets that. Good luck, Becky. You get it.
Friends like you who needs enemies, as the old saying goes.
I blame Avril Lavigne. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
She's a bad influence, that Avril
It
Lavigne.
is horrible.
Summoning demons.
Well, I mean, I didn't want to keep it, and I did pay for it. It was like almost like $30. I bought it at some bookstore, and it looked badass, but I was like, you know what? I ain't gonna like burn it or bury it like I'm just gonna give it to this one friend that's totally gonna take it.
Friend, quote unquote.
Totally.
Well,
and I told him, we're still friends.
Friend.
We're still friends. But I told him before giving it to him, I was like, look, we're having a lot of weird things happen. I don't know if you want this or if you want to dispose of it. I don't care. And he goes, I'll take it.
Free Ouija board.
Bring it on, buddy.
Free Ouija board. I am in.
Yeah, homie's like, free board.
Who wouldn't want that?
Nice.
Oh yeah, it was great. Ken, have you ever played with a Ouija board or gotten a tarot reading, palm reading, any of it?
I've had my palm read by you, and it's scary that it might be accurate because I don't know yet. I mean, I feel like everything you gave me so far as of the palm reading is very, very accurate. And it's I don't want to say it's misleading because it hasn't been so far. Tarot readings, no. Ouija board one time I was about 9 or 10, And I was upstairs of an apartment complex with a friend of mine. He was home alone. His parents left him alone at 9
Is
years
that
old.
how you got the Ouija board with the parents?
No, the kid knew where his parents' Ouija board was, and he brought it out of the closet.
Oh dear God, kids your age don't
So
need
they
to be
left
going
the
through
nine-
parents' closets.
So they left
Did you
a
find
9-year-old
other
at home
things
with a
too?
Ouija board.
I don't know. And I was very sheltered growing up. I was very I didn't really have an outside idea of what the world was. So pretty much my house and our neighbors were the only things I really had to work with of what culture is and communication was. Like I said, I was very sheltered.
Fantastic.
So anyway, this kid invited me up. His name was I remember his last name was Humphreys. But he brought me upstairs to this place, and he brought up this Ouija board out of his mom and dad's closet, and we sat it down. I'd never seen one before. I heard about him before. I've never seen one before. And he, sat down. We're sitting there talking, and I thought he was moving it the entire time. And regardless if it was real or not real, I remember we asked the question who we were talking to, and it said Satan. And I ran downstairs, and I never went upstairs to that house again or that apartment ever again. And I was scared. I never dealt with it since until I was my teenage years when all this crazy, stupid stuff happened to me, growing up that I can't explain. But there's too much I don't want to dabble into. I'm afraid that if I open something up, that it's just going to bring worse luck. And I just don't want to, just like Dan said, and just in case, don't want to open anything and subject myself to something just in case.
Right.
But ladies and gentlemen, we also have a person here just joined us. Welcome, Trent Boham, the legendary rock group Henodus. Trent, would you like to join in and say something?
Well, I wouldn't say legendary.
You and I will be talking Sunday night.
I'm very aware. Right now, I'm playing a little Animal Crossing.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
My island kind of sucks right now, but all I have is time. So,
well, let's bring up the speed real quick. We're talking about the unknown, the paranormal, ghosts, demons, that kind of thing. Do you believe?
I do believe. And just to touch in with the Ouija board thing, I kind of had a little interesting facet a few years ago, about, I don't know, 15 years. I was still in high school, and I was in another band called A Perfect Circle. That's a different story, but some person, obviously it's very A Perfect Circle driven, no pun intended there either. But and Dan, I think this is actually before you and I knew each other.
Oh yeah, it has to be.
This is way before. Well, the drummer brought over a friend who was like very into like the weird stuff, and Dan, you already know this probably from Ashley, but we believe that my parents' house is haunted.
Yeah, I heard that.
Exactly. It's been ongoing. It's weird things that's happened. So this one friend of my drummer's like, what if we just buy a Ouija board and let's just ask questions? And I'm like, oh, I don't believe this.
Sounds great.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Nothing could go wrong.
I'll just move it myself, But no, I was just kind of following along. We were in our basement. And Dan, again, you know what our basement looks like. It's kind of freaky.
Like all basements, let's call it what it is.
So we were down there, and just the band and I, and we were just kind of like asking it questions, and the band's friend, and I'm just like not really into it. So I'm just sitting there, and I kid you not, like I'm being dead serious. Like the whole presence, like the basement, the room around us was getting really cold. I had to go upstairs to get a blanket, but I'm like, it's just a basement. There's nothing. But then it's like really cold. I'm shivering. And then somebody from upstairs who was playing Roman Total War on the computer, because that was a thing too, came downstairs. And I think it was either Nathan Slusher or James Eversole. He came down. And he's like, you guys are playing with that stupid Ouija board? And then one of the people were like, he's because James is going down to like get like a soda or something in the other part of our basement, which was like another room that had that has refrigerators, etc. and all of a sudden they're like, do something to prove that you're here. All of a sudden the lights literally were turned off at that point. No kidding. And then we're like, that just happened. And from there we just kind of ripped it apart and burned it. Then I buried it in one of my high school enemies' yards because
well, that's how you do it. That's what
at least you buried it.
Don't give it to a friend.
Don't give it to your friends, like Candace. Don't gift evil to your friends.
So that's the only
Today's
thing.
PSA.
So that's the only thing that I've had with a Ouija board. I would never touch it again because it was kind of freaky. But the one person, I think her name was Stephanie, she went like even further, and because where I live, where my parents are from, like it's in Shawnee, and it's not that far from Fort Amanda, which is, you know, Mr. History buff here. It was an old War of 1812 battle, and like against Native Americans and, you know, American and British soldiers, yada yada yada. Well, I live probably, I don't know, Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, about 7-8 miles from the place.
If that, yeah.
Yeah, and the Stephanie person's like, oh, I went to the Allen County Museum, started pulling records, and this Charles so-and-so used to live there that was on the fort, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I don't believe one thing. Well, one day we went to the cemetery because Fort Amanda has a cemetery there of all the soldiers who fought. And I kid you not, there's a Charles so-and-so person there. And I'm like, okay, well, hopefully that the board is still buried.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: if it digs its way out, you have much bigger problems. That's
demons. You have demons.
Demons. That's how you get demons.
yeah.
Does it count that I just planted in my like neighbor's yard? Is that
as
far
long as it's not in your, as long as it's gone, it's fine. That's the neighbor's problem.
I
now.
have to ask: were you a fan of Avril Lavigne by any chance?
And we called her back.
We have to draw that back, okay?
We were just
There we
sitting
go.
around listening to Avril Lavigne in the basement, man. And
That's how it works, you know.
Yeah, Cadence is going to be able to give you all the protocols of how to get rid of any of that kind of stuff
So
because you don't
summon
want to leave any of that
demons.
behind.
Demons
that's
101,
funny.
what to play
Summon them.
for ambiance.
Summon them. Avril Lavigne. Get rid of them. Give them to someone else. That's how you do it. Step
Bury
over.
them in your neighbor's yard.
So I got something to ask of you guys. As you probably are all aware through Facebook, apparently I forgot that I had Thursday, Friday, and Monday off, and I just went to work on Thursday, and one of my coworker friends was like, "Hey, Trent,"
Reminded you, hey.
and I'm like, you know, I totally forgot. But the sad thing is, it's not the first time that's happened. But on my day off, I was actually mixing and mastering one of our newer songs, and I actually have it on my computer right now if you guys want to give it a listen.
No, go for it. I mean, how long is it going to last? Got a sample of it?
Cool.
I had the whole song already recorded and mastered. Well, kind of mastered. Again, it's more of a demo. I'm not all proficient yet with like mixing, but at least it's something.
But can you tell us the band again and where we can find it?
Yes. So the band name us is Henodus, Henodus,
Yeah.
or hashtag Henodus sucks because, well, as you're about ready to hear, it sucks.
Good intro.
That's their Twitter handle as well.
Yeah, our Twitter, Instagram, Henodus sucks, but we couldn't put SUCKS because apparently that's bad and they don't want negative.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too many porn stars already had that. So
Right.
So it's Henodus sucks SUX.
SUX. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, here is the Henodus with their one of the newest tracks off their album. Let's give it a shot.
All right, let me just pull it up
excited.
here. Again, there might be some issues with tweaks and leveling, but like I said, I'm kind of a novice, so you expect that. So here we go. Let me know what you guys think.
If you wanna get up, Then you need up. Get up, get up. Just if you wanna. Get up, get up. Then you need up. Get up, get up. And get down. Lock and load.
Trent, you're part of another podcast, right?
Yes. What's the word with myself and Jason?
Yeah.
Or Jay and Trent? Yeah.
Well, what's about?
It's about anything and
Jagged
everything.
Brick.
It's about, we have like this ongoing chat going on with this imaginary, mythical, real band that's probably happening. Well, we don't know. We'll have to follow up with them on Thursday when we record it. But with the whole coronavirus, they don't do very well with social distancing. So we don't know what Jagged Brick is happening right now.
Yeah.
They might be alive, but they're a ska hard rock, hard punk metal band with a tuba.
Punk ska tuba. Yes.
Yes.
If you've seen the podcast, you'll get it. It cracks me up. I think that's probably one of my favorite parts of the whole thing is the Jagged Brick updates.
We don't know. We really don't know what's going to happen. We just kind of played by ear, and hopefully we get some Cincinnati love, and they let us know what's going on, and then we share it. We share it to the public.
Awesome.
But the podcast is just a show about nothing, really. Anything and nothing.
Well, again, we can find What's the Word with Jay and Trent on the ZTO Podcast Network. And
you're able to submit questions as well to them.
Well, I don't want to get too far into the weeds here off top with our paranormal discussion for the evening. I want to, keep things short before we, break our 3-hour window we've just, crossed, I guess. But in closing, Ray, Dan and Carrie, Trent, yourself, Cadence, I mean, we all have our own beliefs and what we are willing to accept, what we can't accept. Ray, is there anything that you can say that would completely put you over the edge of you're a 100% believer? What would that be?
You mean in paranormal terms or just in general for like anything? I don't know.
No, ghost and demon.
Ghosts and demons?
Yeah.
Again, I do believe there has to be something causing these. There's too many people that have experiences for me to discredit it, right? So there has to be something that I can't understand going on. And I would love to know more. I'd love to go on a ghost hunt. You guys don't know how every spring I hope somebody invites me and nobody ever does. I'd love to go on one and see with my own eyes and hear with my own ears the stuff that these guys, you guys experience.
And I'm sure we can make that happen.
Yeah,
cool.
definitely.
So I would love to do that sometime. So yeah, if I had an experience that I know was mine, that would maybe open me up a little bit more. I'm an atheist, like I said, when it comes to believing some sort of dogma, but I do believe there are things greater than I can grasp out there. Okay. Yeah. So
well said. Well said.
Yeah. So that leaves me. I'm open to experiences. I'm not an idiot where I would close myself off. I know there has to be something else that I'm just not seeing. So, but yeah, I'd love to have an experience like that. So
yeah, well,
make it happen. Let's do it.
Good explained. Dan, what about yourself?
I think, like I said, I think Ray's that way too. It's there's something out there, and I'm not going to get into it, but that's how I feel about when it comes to aliens. It'd be foolish to think that they're not out there, but I don't think they're abducting every redneck with a pickup. I think there's a middle ground. But yeah, I think it's just like anything in science. You have to be able to replicate it. So to me, it's like, a flash of light or a weird sound. Okay, but in other conditions, can you replicate that? And if you can't, then you found a flash of light in a hotel that one time. And that's where so to me, it would require something to be replicated multiple times to be more accepted in my head, at least.
Nice. Yeah. Well, anything paranormal that we are open-ended with anything, we have to have some type of open window to say, hey, we got to let a little bit something in to believe in something else. And whether it might be aliens, if we believe in aliens, more likely we might believe in something else. Same thing with ghosts, demons, might believe in something else as well. Carrie, what about yourself? I mean, you're pretty much already a believer yourself, but as far as solidification of, hey, this is it and that's that, what do you think it's going to take?
It would definitely take a direct experience, but I've also had that. I've experienced very strange things, and I've also to delve into the spiritual stuff that I've looked into. I've asked for signs and I've received them like immediately after. So I believe that I don't really need anything any more solid than that to convince me that there is, as those guys said, something greater than myself. I really don't. I don't feel I need to experience anymore to be solid in my belief that that's exists in my world.
Trent, what about yourself?
I mean, I know we're probably running out of time, but I have personal examples of things that's weird's happened. Again, I'm a history person. I've been to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania numerous times. I've had actually encounters with weird things happening, orbs, flashes of light, you name it. I've actually seen it myself and taken photos of it. So
yeah. Well, Cadence, I know you're part of one of the top believers here. Anything you want to say in closing with the whole idea of spirit realm and where we stand in life?
Well, I just think to keep a mind open, and definitely firsthand experience, they absolutely help. And anybody that's wanting to maybe on a later episode go and actually investigate with the tools that we have and record that while you guys are having these firsthand experiences, I would love to take y'all to that. The next place we're going is, and you can look it up, is the Richwood Bell Tower. And I've already been there once before. It was quite an experience, and we're going back again because it was that awesome. Fantastic.
Well, I'd like to thank our guests for coming up tonight and discussing our topic of paranormal and ghost activity. And thank you again for showing up and giving us your time. Trent, thanks for joining us late, but I'm glad you were able to make it.
Thanks for having us, or thanks for having me, I should say.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, you can see Talking, what is it? Talking Tacos. Talking For Talkos? What is this?
Know your damn channel.
My own
I need
podcast,
more coffee.
But I don't remember what it's called.
Time for Tacos.
There we go.
All right. Well,
Everybody golf clap. Everybody golf clap for Ken. Just real quick. Okay. All right.
Thanks. All right. Well, I'm Ken.
I'm Cadence.
And this is Time for Tacos. See you guys soon. You guys can find us on ZTO TV Podcast Network and any other platform that's going to be famous.
Yes.
Catch you guys soon. Thank you.
Get down. Then you need a get up. Loud! If you wanna get up, and get down. Then you need a get up, and get down. If you wanna get up, and get down. Then you need a